Hi everybody, welcome. We are group number 1 in the Food4Good CSL placement assignment. Our names are Sydney, that's me, Besa, and Tina. Our presentation will show you how our chosen organization, Food4Good, operates, how the three of us constructed our project based on its operation, and how information from class aided in our knowledge. So firstly, for all the information about this organization, you should go to their Facebook, check it out, or just type in Food4Good. So our organization, Food4Good, is a result of Edmonton's community members collaborating to provide a healthy community through good food, which is stated on their webpage. They hope that this can be accomplished through gardening, education, cooking, advocacy, and providing increased access to affordable and culturally appropriate foods. So they think that this healthy community can be accomplished through food. And they have 4 main focuses, so their 4 values are growing, cooking, access, and advocacy. But does that approach actually work? Food4Good is headquartered in Edmonton's West Side Jasper Place Wellness Center. The established goal of this physical location is to create a food center community where low-income residents can shop for affordable and healthy groceries. So Food4Good actually also engages children to learn about healthy options through fun workshops like Meal Prep 101 or Kids Kitchen, where they can learn about food education, or even food documentary nights for adults. So Food4Good describes themselves not as a food charity, which only provides relief for the short term, but as a food justice, which can give community residents the tools to get them out of food insecurity in the long term. Good Food to Go is our main basis for our project, but it is firstly a grocery kit program for those who face food insecurity. It's a service provided by Food4Good, described as an affordable way to keep your fridge stocked with food that's good for you, your family, and your community. Low-income residents are able to pick up this monthly meal kits or have them delivered. These meal kits are varied and subject to change depending on the month. However, they're typically themed, like a fresh produce box, pantry essentials, baking supplies, what have you.
What was our project? Our project was creating 2 educational and engaging videos for the people who purchased the food boxes. Our group decided to make 2 recipe videos in order to encourage healthy eating and use of certain ingredients from the produce box. Although we recognize that there are many recipe videos on YouTube, we still wanted to create content reflecting on certain demographics and socioeconomic levels in Edmonton. The first topic of our video is easy and healthy one-pan meals. We recognized that these recipes needed to be easy in order for all skill levels to follow the recipe and show how healthy meals can also be easy to cook. We also tried to incorporate products from the food boxes and other affordable ingredients. Our second topic is on tasty and quick meal ideas to eat more veggies. We wanted to encourage different ways to consume more vegetables and also have one recipe that is vegan. What was our process? First, we gathered more information from a coordinator before we could come to conclusion with our topics and recipe ideas. We asked for the ingredient list in the different food boxes that their clients purchase in order to align their available resources to our recipes. We also researched seasonal produce in Alberta to use seasonal produce that would be more cheaper and sustainable to use. Lastly, we decided it was important to ask our coordinator what the demographics of the community were. We wanted to recognize the different cultural backgrounds in order to create recipes that could be most suited to serve this population. Then, we came up with topic ideas from what we have researched, trying to incorporate seasonal produce and items in the box as much as possible with our recipes. We also wanted to include a recipe that is culturally different from the demographics in order to encourage families to try a new recipe at home and experience it without having to buy it at a restaurant. Lastly, we researched various recipe ideas and we all decided to try the recipe ourselves before we confirmed it. While we were researching recipe ideas, we noticed the different methods to make one recipe. The research beforehand allowed us to choose the recipe that didn't require specific equipment like the blender because we recognized that some people might not have blenders at home. Each of us tried different recipe ideas and discussed how it turned out. This allowed us to experience what other people will have to go through before they make the recipes. What problems or issues did we intend to address? We wanted to address issues of unhealthy eating and how it's linked to chronic illnesses and overall health. The clients that Food4Good serves especially have higher rates of illnesses because of the consumption of unhealthy foods, and we wanted to change that. As well, many clients are families, and children's consumption of food affects their overall performance in school and other activities. Lastly, we wanted to intend to address the misconceptions that unhealthy food is the only meal that's quick to make. In fact, healthy foods are able to be made quickly as well. How did our project address these issues? We wanted to support this program virtually by putting out content where they would be able to easily follow step-by-step recipes and get inspiration on how to use certain ingredients from the box. We included recipes that all ages can enjoy for families. As well, we created recipes that can be made very quickly so that people are able to make these healthy meals often and have a healthy diet overall. What output did we produce? For our first topic, easy and healthy one-pan meals, our two recipes are one sheet chicken fajitas and second, one-pan easy vegetable soup. For our second topic, tasty and quick meal ideas to eat more veggies, it's a tofu scramble recipe. The last one is a vegan recipe, and we wanted to encourage the use of plant-based protein, and that's why we included it in here.
Throughout our project, we found that we had to be more mindful of affordability, since many of Food4Good's clients live with lower incomes. In addition to actively looking for deals while grocery shopping and choosing more inexpensive grocery stores to shop at, we also had to make some more proactive decisions earlier on in the process of working on our CSL project. Some of the ways this is demonstrated throughout our project is through our choices of ingredients. We focus on selecting meals that already contained a handful of the ingredients included in the Good Food to Go boxes. Our aim with this approach was to help ensure families were not required to go out of their way purchasing extra ingredients that add to their food budgets or that they wouldn't have already had in their homes. Another way financial awareness showed throughout our project was in how we chose meals that required minimal additional equipment. For example, a meal that we had initially chosen required the use of a blender, but after some consideration, we determined that some people living with low incomes may not have a blender in their household and that they are expensive, prompting us to move towards other meal ideas. One of the things we learned throughout our CSL experience that was relevant to lecture content was about the work that Food4Good does to address food insecurity. Food4Good services the neighborhoods of West Jasper Place, Kenora, Glenwood, and Britannia Youngstown. According to Food4Good manager Ashley Bouchard, these neighborhoods earn 2.5 times less income compared to the rest of the city's average income. Additionally, the highest number of responses in these 4 service neighborhoods for the 2016 census were reported in the 3 lowest income brackets, as shown in the chart, which demonstrates that among those who responded, most households in these neighborhoods live in lower incomes. This background information helped inform our decisions throughout our project and helped us to understand in a more practical way exactly how food insecurity is largely an income-based issue. We also observed that the neighborhoods that Food4Good serves are located in the central west region of the city. Some of the food deserts identified in previous studies were in more southwest communities of the city. This illustrates the importance of defining food deserts and food insecurity. While both terms are related to socioeconomic factors, food deserts are defined as when a particular area faces barriers to food access, which may also include low income. This food desert trend doesn't seem to be as present in the Food4Good service neighborhoods compared to other identified food deserts in the city. In fact, there is reasonable availability and physical accessibility of a number of supermarkets in these 4 neighborhoods, such as Superstore, Walmart, and IGA, all of which are within 10 minutes driving distance and 30 minutes busing distance. This observation helps demonstrate the difference between these two similar concepts, whereby the Food4Good communities experience food insecurity mostly due to income barriers and not necessarily because they are located in a defined food desert. We also observed other more indirect links to lecture content throughout our CSL placement. Since most of our chosen meals contained primarily vegetables, with only one recipe including animal-based protein, we found that recipes we included closely followed the Eat Lancet diet, which promotes the consumption of more vegetables and legumes and discourages eating meats and animal-based foods. Although some of the Eat Lancet report's criticisms are related to income, we took steps to help ensure that Food4Good clients would be able to realistically access the food included in our chosen meals. Furthermore, the inclusion of some animal-based meats, especially for those living with considerable malnutrition, has actually led to improvement in some health outcomes, as outlined in the Eat Lancet report. Additionally, while deciding on which meals to include in our project, we also attempted to choose recipes requiring foods that were in season. Although some resources are conflicting, according to the Alberta Farmers Market Association's website, July to October is primarily when produce is harvested here in Alberta. We tried to use this contextual info gained from lecture and through our own research online in an effort to make our recipes more affordable for those accessing Food4Good's grocery kits. In conclusion, our involvement with Food4Good, an important local nonprofit, prompted us to consider the barriers to food insecurity and help address those barriers by creating instructional videos on healthy and convenient meals as part of our CSL project supporting the organization. Some of the issues we encountered were actually directly linked to the factors that define food insecurity, such as lack of access to nutritious food and how food insecure regions often have income barriers, which lead to poor health outcomes to those living in food insecure areas as covered in lecture. In seeking to support Food4Good, we learned about the influence it has in West End communities and how important it is to those who live in the area and use its services. Exploring and addressing these issues gave us a much deeper understanding of the challenges that Food4Good seeks to address, as well as the greater issue of food insecurity in general, particularly in the local Edmonton context. Thank you for listening to our presentation.